What's going on, guys? Good evening or good day, depending what time you watch this, depending what time you listen to this. If you're on Spotify, shout out to Scopey, my usual KQ brother. He's the second logo that you saw in the intro if you're watching it. But I just really wanted to get on here and have a conversation. Right now, I'm just recording this. It's not even going to be live. I just wanted to let some things off my mind and kind of get a little personal in a sense. So don't worry, I'm not going to bore you guys to death. I'm going to keep this. It's all for a point. I'm not just going to ramble on. But I just want to give a little story about somebody who, growing up didn't have the easiest life. Things sometimes would work against him as a child. He had big dreams for sure as a kid. At one time wanted to maybe play baseball. At one time he wanted to, eventually become a psychologist, and then ultimately decided he wanted to go another route. And it's just a story that I feel like should be shared because I do feel like it could help some people. This story, in fact, is fuel for the fire for me because I want to make sure that I can leave some sort of impact similar to the story about this individual right here. Like I said, the childhood wasn't really great. Without getting too personal on some things, there's just things that happen. But he definitely had his blessings growing up. So, he was never truly a full-on victim. There are definitely people that have been through much worse, much more, and have persevered over much more, much better. Those people are worth mentioning, and it's not to paint him as a victim. That's definitely not what he wants from anybody. But he told me that he just wants to be an example that you can fail time and time again. You could even maybe call yourself a failure for some of the maybe shortcomings that you brought onto yourself in terms of not reaching a certain potential, not reaching a certain goal, or not exactly having just the prettiest overall story, but still wanting to be an example to some people. So he would end up leaving school early on. When he was 16 years old, he decided he wanted to start early. He had big dreams. He was like, look, I'm going to make something happen with my life. And nothing's going to stop me. So at 16 years old, he went to college. This was shortly after his grandmother had passed away in 2012. There were some things that maybe like that was the last straw, or, some cheesy saying like that, the camel that broke its back, that truly sent him into a level of depression and a level of hurt that he hasn't seen before, even with these shortcomings before in his childhood. And this was like a true loss because those other things that would come into his life, he was truly confident that he would be able to break through no matter what. He's like, look, in the end, I'm going to make something of myself. There's nothing that can stop me. He still had enough support to keep him going. It wasn't all bad. I can't say that it was for him. And unfortunately, it was just something new. And I guess he wasn't really prepared for it. He always was a confident person in the sense of he could get through anything. He's been hurt before, so this is not something that's going to stop him. But ultimately, that's exactly what it did. The depression got in his way. And he doesn't want to make any excuses because there are plenty of people that dealt with that type of depression and much worse things. And they succeeded the first time. Unfortunately, that's not what he did. First time around, things didn't happen. He ultimately, his grades were good, going into the halfway point of the semester. But ultimately, he decided to, or maybe not necessarily decided to, but he just didn't have the energy in him or the drive or the motivation. He described like his suicidal thoughts at the time as being so potent that he truly felt like working towards something was meaningless at some point because he's like, in the end, I feel like I'm just going to give in. So what is the point of trying? But thankfully he had certain things, certain people in his life throughout the years that gave him reason to keep going. He attributed this girl that he was dating at the time for about 4 years. She was somebody that was pretty influential in his life to keep him going. But of course, he also had his family from a religious side too. So, there was consequences in the Christian faith for doing such. So these are all little contributing factors, but still in the end, it wasn't completely enough, but it was enough because here he is today. He still hasn't given up. And, more on that later, more on where he's at right now. So, that happened the first time around. He didn't wind up going to school. So he fell into SAP because he had financial aid. He wasn't able to go back to school for at least a year. So he wasn't sure if that was even what he wanted to do. He tried to go to counseling and things of that sort, but nothing really was seeming to work for him. So he felt like he could just seal those feelings, like, time heals everything in his mind. So he would wind up going again after a few years of working. Was super motivated this time around. He's like, look, I'm not going to take this for granted. I know I need to make something happen. I need to make my grandmother proud. He said, I need to make the family, the people that did support me proud. And I need to prove those that doubted him wrong. That was what drove him every day. Also, his siblings would drive him every day because he wanted to be an example to them. Those are also two reasons why he never truly went through with that suicidal thoughts, even when they became so prevalent. But anyway, he would just keep going. So he said, okay, look, this is the time. Second time around, it's time to succeed and it's time to be great. It's time to make something because, the regular life never satisfied him. He just wants to do something with his life. He doesn't want to work a 9-to-5. Money is something that doesn't motivate him. What motivates him is creating something, like creating happiness in his life. And I feel like that's important. I told him, money, and it's a cheesy cliche saying, money cannot buy you happiness, and that is a fact. So, you got to still live with yourself regardless of what's in your bank account. So if you feel like you didn't live up to certain expectations, if you feel like a failure, like it's not going to matter how much money you have in your pocket. So these are things that would drive him crazy, probably contribute to his depression more than anything else at this point. Earlier on, it might have been some things in his life that were happening, but now it was just the thought of failing. And instead of doing things to make that better, he would let that eat him alive. And there's no excuses, there's no excuses for that, but it can happen to people. It does happen. But he does take responsibility for it. So anyway, moving to now, about 5 years later from the last try, he's been trying to get back in the college for good reason, because there's a lot of people that are looking for chances. The college didn't really want to give him another chance. They're like, look, 2 times you failed. Like, so this, I don't know if I mentioned or not. I'm sorry, this is a lot. Like, I'm just recording this, no script, nothing like that. The second time around, similar situation happened. Grades were good. Midway through the semester, here he was again, completely unmotivated. Less excuses this time, to be honest. He still had that depression. But it was something that he never truly put a ton of effort into defeating. He would keep a lot of the things to himself, which is a natural thing. And I understand people feel like that's maybe like the defiant thing to do or the heroic thing to do, but it's not. If you're not right in your head, you cannot really put your head into other things like being in school or other goals and motivation and positivity and even helping other people if you cannot help yourself. So that's what happened his second time around in school. So now, as I was saying, 5 years now, here we are again. The college said, look, we really don't want to give you another. Like, there's kids that want a first chance and perhaps their second chance. You had 2 shots already. Both went the same way. So how are we supposed to believe that you're going to do it right this time? And it made a lot of sense, and unfortunately, some people would hear that and they would feel like it's time, to call it quits. Like, we gave it everything we had, which not really. We gave it everything we have. Now it's just time to accept reality. Let's work this 9-to-5. Let's make money somehow. Maybe join the army, whatever the case is. A lot of things that went through his mind at that point of his life. But, thanks to the people around him, like I said, he contributes, his now ex, but still very good friends. he contributes, his close relatives, for helping him out and keeping him honest through those periods. But to a point, even they kind of let those thoughts go away, because it was like, okay, now let's focus on being successful. Like, you're getting into your mid-20s now, so we got to get something going, because nothing's working. Like, you're working day to day, working a regular job. What have you done? And it's a valid question, and he would fight with that himself. And almost at some points he began to accept it. Let's be honest, because if he really wanted to get back to school, he could have done just a little bit more. You can always do more to get another shot. You take no for an answer. You would call the college, very nonchalantly, like, hey, I want to get back in. They tell you no. Oh man, I'll try again. No. Like, at some point, you have to fight for what you want. And that's what ultimately got him this third chance that he's getting ready to go into in December. He would go in and he would say, look, my life is not over at the age that I am. I went through those things and I made those mistakes, and there are consequences that need to be given. I didn't deserve to go back right away, but it's been a number of years and it's time to give this another shot. You cannot give up. I'm not saying that, he deserves this third chance. He doesn't. There's some people that never get a first chance. But you have to fight for what's there. There are blessings that we are not afforded in this life and that we have no shot of getting. And there are people below us in the sense of, where they live or where the opportunity is that don't have it. So you have to take advantage of the blessings that are in front of you. And he didn't do that 2 times, but he's going to give it a third try. This time he understands. He's tasted what life could be like without accomplishing those goals. Day-to-day jobs, dead end, no real direction. You see the nasty people out in the world, the people that aren't really there for you. Everybody's trying to get over on one another. You do have a couple of friends that you could call and depend on for a sense of motivation, but in the end, he's in control of his own life. He has to make something happen, or else his life really is just another life, another story, and not what he set out to be, not what his grandmother would preach in front of a family. She would sometimes in tears bawl out because she felt like he could be something different. He could be a light, and she was just so proud of who he was becoming. But ultimately, he feels like he never reached that point and never became what she thought that he was going to become. So that's something that stuck in his mind. And here he is now in 2021 of October, officially 2 months away from another shot. And this time there's just so much in and beyond into this journey that he's been on in his life. A different sense of why, wanting to be an example for his sisters, wanting to do things before, because his family is not getting any younger, so he wants to have them be at peace, that he is going to be okay, that he is going to make something happen in this life. He is what you thought he was. He just went through a journey. Sometimes he got in his own way, sometimes people got in his way, but he made it. And your life is not over until you say it is. So, and by the way, the person I'm talking about is me. This entire time, I felt like maybe it'll be easier to explain it in third person. But that's the case. And I say this not because I want to pat on the back, because I didn't do anything yet. Matter of fact, I probably don't even deserve this third chance that I'm getting. I probably didn't deserve my second chance. There are people that have dealt with much more than I have and that have got it on their first try. And there are some people that never get a chance but find a way to get a chance and make it right. So I don't deserve to be a pat on the back person. I don't deserve to be a role model or anything of that sort yet. But I do want to be an example of reality. Because the reality is a lot of us are going to fail in life. Maybe not 3 times, maybe just once. And maybe you feel like because you failed once that you don't deserve another chance, or you feel like your life is over. But let me tell you, it doesn't matter how old you are. Right now, I'm 25 years old. and I'm just getting started. I should have realistically been doing this at 18, or maybe 19, 20. But, I'm also not the only person that has taken this long to really wake up and grab a sense of drive and understanding the magnitude of the situation, because this is my last chance. More than likely. I mean, there's always a future in life where you can always make something happen. You can always find a way to scratch and claw. But if I want to do it this way, the way that I set out to do originally, this is it. And I just want to show people that regardless of how much you have messed up in life, regardless of the things you've been through in life, you got to take responsibility, number one, because we all been through things. But we all could always do a little bit better. And in my case, I could have done a lot better. I finally got into this college because I decided to put a little bit of aggression behind getting back. But I could have always done more. Let's be honest. I wanted to come back for about 4 years, 5 years. I was fighting, but was I really fighting? No. Now I was demanding and I was making things happen. It was just a click. Something went off. And I'm not there yet. I didn't succeed. So, if I wanted to get a pat on the back, I don't deserve anything yet, because who knows what's going to happen in January. In my heart, I believe I'm going to succeed. In my heart, I know that I'm not ever going to be happy living how I am now. Never. I want to be an example to my sisters. They're an example to me right now. They're just amazing with their goals and how they remain true to themselves. I think I can't say I've always been true to myself. There are plenty of times where I've tried to act like somebody else, or I've tried to fit in, or I've tried to maybe not be too confrontational. So I would just go essentially quiver in the corner. So I'm not a success story, but I want to be an example that despite all the flaws that you have, despite your failures, because I've failed, there are people that got in my way, yes, early on in my life, but I also got in my way. I could have always done more, but there was just, regardless of what it was, you got to fight through it. Because you can't blame anybody for how your life turned out except for yourself. The circumstances may be different. The goals may be different. And it's not about money, by the way. It's not about success, in a sense of how the world views success. It's about being happy. If you're happy living the regular life, maybe you don't want to go to that extra mile. As long as you're comfortable in your skin, then you're doing what you need to do. You are a success if you're comfortable in your skin and you're happy living your day-to-day life. As long as you're not hurting anybody, as long as you're taking care of what you got to take care of, you are a success too. So that's not what I'm trying to portray. It's just for me to be happy. I know that what I want is to make something happen in the world of journalism. And it's like a culmination. First, I wanted to play baseball, dumb dream, whatever the case is. That didn't work out. I would initially decide, okay, maybe I want to do psychology, because I've been through things and I'm like, maybe with my experiences, I could help somebody in the future. Then I took my first psychology class and I realized it wasn't for me. Maybe I gave up too soon too, and that's might be another failure on my end. I took one class and I put it down, so that's not something to admire. But I know there are other people that might have done the same thing. Or maybe you didn't do that and you still messed up. It just happens. We're all human. I'm hoping that one day this could be looked back at after I make something happen with my life. And people could say, look, this is where he was. He couldn't even speak clearly, stutter and change his words every 5 seconds. And if you're still listening, by the way, we're 20 minutes into this. I want to say thank you so much, because I truly don't feel like my voice really matters in this sense right now, because I haven't done anything yet. But I want to speak from a person that's in that mindset of still failure. It's still in my mind that I failed so far, but I'm starting to become okay with it, because I said, okay, this is my story. Maybe I could write a book one day, but I got to complete that book. I need to go to college and make this happen for my own happiness, because that's what, in the end, is going to be the best for you. And then journalism is not the most high-paying job in the world, unless you get on ESPN and you're Stephen A. Smith or somebody of that sort. The chances of you being rich are slim to none. But that's not my goal. I want to just use my writing to have a voice and use it in certain situations. And just simply because it's what I love to do. I love to write. If I could make a living out of that, I'm no longer working, so that is the reason for going back to school. But that's just my field. Your field may be completely different. And I just want everybody to realize, maybe through my story, through what I'm doing right now, that your life is not over. If you're alive, you have time to work towards something. We don't know how long life is guaranteed. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. But today, we can do something. We can set a goal, and we can take that first step. Call who you have to call. Do what you have to do. Take risks. There's nothing wrong with taking risks. Don't be too stupid either, though. You gotta, think with your mind. Don't get yourself killed. But if you just failed, whatever it is, you don't have to stop fighting. Regardless of what the system says, regardless of what people around you say, regardless of whatever you're feeling, at the end, do what you have to do to make yourself happy. And it's such a cliche saying. It's like I'm spending 20 minutes saying something that everybody should know anyway. But right now, I'm living that failure, that feeling of underachieving. So I want somebody to look at this and say, look, it's up to me now to make this mean something. Make what I'm saying mean something. Because if I don't succeed this time around, then this means nothing. What I'm telling you means nothing. But I want to be a voice where somebody could listen to and say, dang, he was in that position that I'm in, wherever it is, whenever you're listening to this, and he made something happen despite how much he failed. Because I failed a lot. I'm 25 years old, and I started this journey at 16 years old. So we're talking 9 years. I haven't even completed a semester of college. So let that sink in. I'm not a success. I don't want to pat on the back. But I just want people to realize that it is possible to fight your way out of that situation. It is possible to do something about it. Don't just dwell on your mistakes. Just like you shouldn't dwell on your success, don't dwell on your mistakes. So anyway, I don't really know where my end game is with this message, but I do want to say, like, if there is anybody listening, again, I mentioned Ashley. That is my ex-girlfriend that she helped me through those dark times when I had those suicidal thoughts. Of course, my sisters, they know I love them to death. I'm not going to share this with anybody. So if you happen to stumble across it, congratulations. Of course, my mother, my godmother, my aunts, uncles. So see, I've had a lot of support. Things didn't always go my way growing up, but I've been afforded enough blessings to still have not truly given up. Even when I did give up, I still didn't give up, if that makes sense. And I also have an article from a couple of years ago when I was really in the feels for those suicidal thoughts back in 2011. And then I felt it again strongly in 2017, 16. If you want to go to the randombloghome.wordpress.com, it's a free site. There's no monetization or anything like that. You can find my journey from those suicidal thoughts to where I got initially, where I felt like I could rid them, because I still have depression. And by the way, maybe that's one thing I want to say real quick. Depression is something that I've come to accept that's probably never going to go away, but it's something that you can learn to live with. And it's something that could almost empower you in some sense. But you just want to make sure you keep control of your life. And I understand it's easier said than done. And that's what anybody's going to tell you. Oh, you'll be fine. It'll go away. It may not. But what you can do to take control, it's very simple. You wake up in the morning and not feeling good. Say, okay, I'm going to deal with these thoughts. I'm going to cry if I got to cry. I'm going to, whatever I got to do. But I'm going to fix my bed first. Let me have breakfast. You can't get away from them. So you're not going to escape it. But you control those feelings. You know in the back of your head, I've been here before and I got out. I may come back again, but I'll get out again. So it doesn't have to control your entire life. Time maybe doesn't heal everything, but time does give you experience in dealing with these things. So if anything, I just want to tell people not to give up. chase your dreams. And if you're in school right now, please make this happen. Don't do what I did. You want to make this happen the first time, because you waste so much time if you don't. But the life is not over. You only have one, and at the end, this isn't a race. Regardless of how other people make you feel, or maybe how you feel, this isn't a race. This is a marathon. Again, cliche saying. So I'm sorry for all that. I'm sorry for stuttering over most of my words. Sorry for not really having a clear message with what I was saying, but I just wanted to get on here and literally talk to myself and allow you the chance to peep in, and perhaps maybe there's something maybe you can relate. If it doesn't help you, maybe you can at least relate, and later on I can make this mean something. Say in April, at least when I complete the first semester, that's going to be a huge step. I do feel like I am going to do it this time. I realize that this is my last opportunity. And I tasted enough of the real world to know how important this is. And I just want to preach that to everybody else. It doesn't necessarily have to be college for you, but it's important to stay on track and keep fighting and never allow failure to consume you, because all it is literally just part of life. Everybody's going to fail. A lot of the celebrities that you look up to, a lot of the musicians, they're going to talk to you about their story, maybe how they grew up poor. And they're going to say, I just persevered and I got through. And that's probably true for most of them, but they definitely failed along the way. They may not always include it in their story, but everybody has failed one way or the other. Some failed more than others. I feel like that's me in my case. But that doesn't mean that doesn't mean you are a failure. You're not a failure. You may have failed in life. You may have made mistakes, but you're not a failure. That is not your adjective. You are a human, and you are in control of your life. You can become a success. It's all up to you. And like I said, definitions of success is going to be different for a lot of people. But remain true to yourself. Don't sell out. Embrace your feelings and realize that nothing is wrong with you. If you're depressed, if you have suicidal thoughts, whatever the case is, there's not a single thing wrong with you, because you're not the only one. There's plenty of people dealing with something in their life. So you're literally just another human being in that sense. There's nothing wrong with you. You're normal. And you will be something if that's what you decide to do. Thank you so much for listening. And again, I apologize for this directionless recording, but I just wanted to get on here and just talk my thoughts. Thank you so much. For my family, my friends, I love you. Oh my God, super cliche. But nevertheless, have a great day.